You're listening to Visibility Vixen, episode 13.
As you start giving, I guarantee, like if you start giving with a, joyful heart, I guarantee you will bring in more money.
Welcome to the Visibility Vixen podcast, where we create space to grow our brand with intention and clarity, one episode at a time. Join us as we explore the many aspects of entrepreneurship, start loving the journey instead of the destination, and begin building a legacy that lasts. Here's your host, Michelle Lewis.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today is a special day. I am so excited to introduce you to this amazing guest. Her name is Adrienne Dorison. So Adrienne, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Michelle. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited. You were one of the people that I sent a message to and honestly was like, Michelle, that's really a shot in the dark. Like, there's no way. Adrienne is so awesome. There's just no way. So when you emailed me back, I had a little celebration dance. I've been watching you for a while, and I just think that you are so talented and that you bring so much value to ladypreneurs out there. So this is going to be so much fun.
Oh, thank you. It's always surprising, I guess, to hear that, because I still don't, you put your message out into the world, and I think a lot of influencers, thought leaders, experts, entrepreneurs, people that you're putting your message out into the world, you're not really sure how many people are hearing it. You might have an idea, but it's always nice to hear that in response, oh, I've been watching you, or I've been, following your stuff, or I'm actually taking action on your stuff. That's always the biggest win.
It's so awesome. So awesome. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a little bit more information about Adrienne. Adrienne is a business strategist and a fellow podcast host who helps experts, entrepreneurs, and business owners get better results in less time. She's the founder of Good Business, Do Good, a growing global movement to amplify generosity amongst entrepreneurs. I'm so excited to dive into that. Adrienne has been recognized as a thought leader in the millennial entrepreneurial space. She hosts her own podcast that you have to subscribe to called The School of Self-Mastery and contributes to a myriad of media and publications such as Business Insider, Clark Howard, WSB TV, Brazen Careerist, and the Huffington Post. Most importantly, she has a beautiful Bernese mountain dog named Church. So Adrienne, first I have to hear about this amazing dog. I see him everywhere.
Yeah, I love that you said most importantly, because anyone that knows me knows that is so true. That's most importantly, there's a Bernese mountain dog, and his name is Church, and if you go download the podcast, you will see his picture. He's on the podcast cover art.
I was thrilled to see that.
He's just a part of my brand because he's been a life changer for me, and he's just the sweetest, most lovable, big, furry creature that I've ever come across in my life.
I love that. Mine is not a Bernese mountain dog. He is an almighty pug, and his name is Oliver. And he is, he might as well be a part of my brand too. He sits between my feet all day long while I work. So I love a fellow dog lover.
Me too. We could talk about dogs all day long.
Seriously, I might as well just name this show, Let's Talk About Dogs.
Forget the show.
Yeah, forget the show. Exactly. Well, tell me a little bit about this incredible movement that you founded called Good Business, Do Good. I would love to hear about it.
Yeah, so Good Businesses Do Good is all about the idea that as entrepreneurs and business owners, companies around the world, we have been met with this, I think, unique opportunity in the current state of economy to earn limitless income, right? As an entrepreneur, you're not in a fixed income job. You really do have the ability to get smart about what you're doing in your business and earn and scale that business so that you can earn as much money as you want. And I really want to empower people to earn as much money as they want, right? I have no problem with people earning money. I love when people earn money, but I also would love if people would do more good with that money so that we can seriously and very quickly change the world. I really do believe that, at this state of economy, there are certain, people around the world that don't have this ability, but I see, in the entrepreneurial space, there are a lot of people that like to flash their lifestyles. And I think you should be able to have that lifestyle. But what else are you doing, right, for the world? Like, what can you give back from that process of earning limitless income? And I don't see a lot of people highlighting that. And so Good Businesses Do Good is all about highlighting and amplifying the entrepreneurs that are really focused on how they can do better and how they can do good in the world with the money that they are creating in their businesses. And so it's all about showing that there's different ways to do that. Like I've, highlighted tons of different types of giving models, because giving doesn't have to look the same either. Like some people who are hiring certain employees for their company that have been, victims of domestic violence, right? Like that's a really great way to give back with your business, right? Or it could be financial giving, or it could be giving of your time, or it could be like, getting together and doing some community service acts or whatever it might be. I really want to bring more focus to that so that the businesses that are doing good are getting more business. I think that that's a really important piece of the puzzle, is showing people that, number one, they have the ability to start giving back now. Oftentimes people wait until, once I start making X amount of money, then I'll start giving back. And I just don't think that it works that way. I think that if you want to be a generous person, you can start now and you can get creative with how you make that happen. But 10% of $100,000 is just as challenging to give away as 10% of $1 million, right? So don't tell yourself that you're going to give away 10% once you become a millionaire. Start doing it now, because that was actually how I got out of a ton of debt, was like really being focused on giving, because I realized like how luxurious my life actually was when I started giving of my time, money, and energy to people and causes that needed that money more than me. And so that's really something I'm super passionate about right now, and it's really like just a side project movement, like a part of a brand that I really want to highlight more. So yeah, that's the idea behind it.
I think what's so powerful about that is I run an online free challenge every month called Comfy on Camera, showing women how to get more visible. And one of the days focuses on what is your big why. And it's, how you actually want to change the world, as you get more and more income. And most people get really, really stuck because they're stuck in their immediate why of how they want to help their ideal client versus the big why of changing the world. So I love that you've done this, because it's such a tangible and understandable thing for entrepreneurs to go, oh, this can be my big, big why. So I love that. That's so powerful.
Yeah, I think it is, especially when you're in that like first stages of like survival mode, right? Like you're just trying to pay the bills with your business. Like I totally understand, but if we can get people to start understanding that if you start giving now in some way, it doesn't have to, be the 10%, but giving of your time, that very fluffy dog on the cover, my big Bernese mountain dog, he's actually a therapy dog, and he gives back as well, which is so part of our message. And he goes into schools, and he's a literacy dog. And so children that are having challenges with reading, they read to him, and it's like a really safe space for children who are fearful of getting made fun of in a class, or they're remedial with their reading. They can read to church. And so like, that's what I mean when I say like this giving doesn't have to all look the same, but I guarantee you that your income will grow when you start doing this, as well as your heart will be more fulfilled. Because I think as we keep chasing money as this thing to fulfill something, we'll eventually realize that that's not gonna do it. And that's on my own podcast, interview people all the time about like what success really means to them. And actually the people who have achieved like great levels of financial success always tell me that it used to be that they would rate success based on how much money they were making. They're like, I'll be honest, my definition used to be how much money can I make, or XYZ achievement that I have. He said, and people tell me all the time, but that's changed over the years as I realized that money never fills that hole, right? So Good Businesses Do Good is about like filling that why and filling your heart with real joy, not something that money will never be able to do.
Absolutely. Can you talk a little bit about how that transitioned for you in terms of realizing how much you wanted to give back and how your life changed when you started to?
Yeah. So like last year when I first started my business, I started my business on the side of my day job. So I was in a corporate role and I had about $50,000 of student debt, like $48,000 to be exact.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started my business on the side in January of 2015. And I knew that it was one of my like big goals was to get out of that debt before I left that corporate job, because I really wanted to leave with a little more financial freedom so that I didn't have a ton of desperation or stress going into my own business. So I got super serious and aggressive about paying off that debt. I was growing my business and that helped pay off that debt, as well as like, you know, really channeling all my corporate income towards the debt. And part of what I did was actually, like I said, I gave away 10% of my money during this time, and people were like, you're crazy. Like, you're trying to get out of debt as quickly as possible and you're giving away money. And I was like, I know, but I have to do this. Like, I have to do this because every single time in the past that I've tried to get out of debt, I've found ways to spend money again. You know, I've found things that were more exciting for me, or I found things that I felt I couldn't live without, right? And I bought them. And so once I started really being consistently generous, and more than anything, like really having a hands-on approach to those nonprofit causes, whether it was like in my local community or like really going out and seeing where that money was going, was really important, because it affected me way more, because then I saw like, wow, who am I to be like, I really need this new jacket, when these people that I'm giving this money to can't afford to eat every night, right? Or kids that, you know, need a school lunch, and I'm over here thinking I'm living this sacrificial life when it was pretty luxurious, you know? So it helped me to actually reduce my own expenses in a much more easy, like it was so much easier to reduce those expenses once I realized how much my money could do for other people. So giving was a huge part of me being able to stick to that debt repayment and lower my expenses overall. And I still live off of a really small budget, which like I make great money, and I just don't feel like these material things help me feel more luxurious, or like I don't feel like I'm sacrificing anything. So I think that's the main thing, was like being able to be generous is always like, I call it like the most selfish act is giving. Like I believe that I'm like so selfish when I get to give, because it makes me feel so freaking good that it should be a crime. I'm like, oh my God, this feels so good. Look what I'm doing. Right. And like part of it is the ego too, which, you know, I think that like anonymous giving is actually the coolest act ever, because it has nothing to do with ego, and it's really just about giving and never getting a thank you. But I will be honest, like I like giving and then getting a thank you sometimes, or being able to follow up with people that I've given to and causes that I've given to, and really be able to see those impacts as well. So that's really changed how I do business, because previously I would also be a little nervous or honestly, I'll say uninterested. I was a little uninterested in like making millions of dollars. Like I didn't really care if people even believe that, but like I just felt like pretty satisfied with my life. I didn't feel like I needed luxuries. Like I was definitely feeling financially secure, which felt like enough. And I moved to the place that I've always wanted to live. I live close to family. Like we have enough to do what we want to do. We travel when we want to. And I just didn't feel like I needed, you know, I was like, what would I do like with millions of dollars? I don't really need that unless I'm going to like throw it in retirement or something. And then once I realized like, wow, I can't give away millions of dollars unless I am earning like tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars. And so it really like lit a fire under my butt to be like, oh my gosh, like the more that I earn, the more that I get to give. Right. And I know that seems like a duh moment for people out there, but it really hit me in a way that, like, it's not selfish for me to want to earn millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars. And I can really get on board with that goal when I know that it's for a really good cause. So I think that that shifted the way I do business, not only the way that I live my life or the way that I have a specific why, but it was also like a way that I do business better and more efficiently and more strategically is because now I'm working not just for me, but for these people out there that I get to give my money to. So that's kind of like the whole shift.
Well, I think that's so powerful because what you've been doing since the very beginning is retraining your mind and not focusing on immediate, personal gratification. Of course, you're looking to get out of debt, but switching that mindset to wanting to give, wanting to help others. When you first start, I think that's why this is so great to talk about this now. If you're just starting out, if you're just building your business, you tend to be filled with doubt and insecurity, and I really just need money to make my life work and da-da-da-da-da. So to shift into more of a grateful mentality, and I'm joyfully giving away 10% because that means that I'm helping other people where they're at. That gives so much space for when you're working in your business and attracts, I think, more and more money to facilitate that purpose.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I think that's like I said, as you start giving, I guarantee, like if you start giving with a joyful heart, I guarantee you will bring in more money.
Yes.
It's just the appreciation of what you have that's able to put you in a receiving mode, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's really interesting is that, me and my husband, we give to a couple different organizations, which we love to do, but we've been really feeling burdened to start volunteering at the Wildlife Way Station, which hosts exotic animals from all over the world. And they're about 20 minutes away up in the Angeles Crest Forest. And we were going to go to the orientation meeting last month and something came up and my husband had something going on. So we're like, okay, we'll just do it next month. And I didn't feel great about it, but life happens. Well, that's when the fire started like a week ago. And they were having to evacuate all these animals and they were needing these volunteers, but we hadn't gone through orientation and we couldn't go. And we both just looked at each other and went, we wanted to give and we didn't listen. We thought, we can just do it next month and it'll be fine because it's always been fine. So my encouragement to the people listening is if you have that inclination in your heart to volunteer your time, to mentor somebody else, to serve wherever it is you feel led to serve, follow it now. It's not just going to happen if you're like, I'll do it next month. Big things could happen where you could be instrumental in helping. And that was such a powerful life lesson for me and my husband. We looked at each other and we said, we're never going to do that again. We are always going to listen. So giving is such a powerful thing, and you need to listen to that inner voice now.
Yeah, listen to that voice. And I love that you shared that story because I think that happens to pretty much all of us, right? We're like, I want to do that. I'll go do it next month or next month. And it's the same thing, like with your income. It's like, I'll do it when. I'll do it when. And I just love that you got real and shared that because I think that'll resonate with a lot of people too. And I've been there, I'm like, I'll do it next month. And every time I do that, I kick myself in the butt because it always feels so good to give. And so now it's just automatic for me, which feels even better.
I love that, making that an automatic reflex. That's amazing. So let's transition a little bit back to biz. And I would love to hear what your biggest focus is right now. I've been on your website. I've explored what you do. I think it's so amazing. So what are you working on right now?
So right now I'm actually transitioning a lot of my programs into what I'm calling like a 3-track system. So I was working a little discombobulated because I was, testing out different programs, figuring out what I liked, what I didn't like. And now I've kind of got things, systematically where I think they'll benefit my clients even more. So what I'm working on right now is a program called the Profit Track. And that's for like newer entrepreneurs who are either just starting, maybe they even just have an idea, or they're in business, but they might even be making money, but they're not necessarily making profits. And so that's what I've been like putting my main focus on because I think, going back to that, like not being able to give, I think a lot of it comes back to honestly not really understanding how to effectively and consistently make money in your business, as well as make sure that you're making profit, not just revenue, because I see a lot of people making great revenue, but not maybe making great profits. And so I love talking about money. I think it's so important that we, like, as women and as entrepreneurs and as humans in general, get more comfortable with this conversation. And so that's something that I'm working on right now, is that profit track. And then the idea is that people don't stay in profit tracks for long, right? They move up into the next track, which is momentum. And then from there, they move into leader. So I'm really focused on, like, taking people through the evolutions of their business, all the way into leadership development, like how you run teams, how you scale your business now, how you become a thought leader and really build more credibility for yourself. So that's what I'm really focused on. And I've been doing a lot of, like, in-person events and retreats, which I'm loving. So I love, that I get to work online in my business, but I really think the power of in-person connection is huge. And I don't think people take advantage of it as much as they should, because they're like, oh, I can work in my pajamas. And I'm like, that's great, but you really should go meet some people. So I've been doing a lot of, like, connecting, at in-person events and hosting some of my own retreats, because I just love being able to do that, like, deep dive transformational work over a few days live and in person.
Absolutely. I think that's amazing, and something that everyone can relate to in terms of being able to be at a place in your business where you can comfortably step away and speak in retreats and do public speaking. That's fantastic. So cool.
Yeah, I think it's been, one of the best ways actually to connect with, influencers and other, like, peers that I might not be able to build. It's much harder, I think, to build a relationship quickly in the online space, because there's so much going on. Like, there's so many things distracting your attention. Whereas if you're at, like, a 3-day event with some people that you've really wanted to connect with, you have tons of opportunities to go and connect with that person. And I'm like on the EI border of introvert extrovert. So I'm, like, very socially outgoing. I love people. I can, like, rock a stage. I love talking to people. But when I'm in, like, a large room, I become, like, very introverted in terms of, like, going up to a stranger and being like, hey, my name's Adrienne, right? Like,
I'm that way too.
That's, like, so not comfortable for me, but it's so important to get better at. And so I'm, like, constantly stretching myself to do that, because I've made some of the best connections and most fruitful connections, not just for myself, but for other people as well, to support them in their businesses at these types of events. So I think, even if it's local events, like, I'm going to go to a local event here on Saturday evening, which I normally don't do. And I was like, I should go to this because, there's maybe some people that I can support there and see what they're doing in their work. And I think that that's always the mindset, that you want to go to these events, or even, like, if you're having, like, a conversation, like a chat, like even this conversation, it's more like, Michelle, how can I support you, versus always seeing it as self-serving? Because I think a lot of people are like, what am I going to get out of that call? What am I going to get out of that event, right? Like, how can I grow my business?
Yeah.
Whereas if you go into it being like, how can I support you, or what are you working on? How can I support it? People are much more receptive to that, and you're actually going to make better traction for yourself as well. And it feels much better to support other people than just try to get your own business seen, Well,
and it's really going back to giving, really centering all parts of your business, both in person and online, about giving. And I think that's something that I know I can lose sight of. And I think that's such a valuable piece of information. And it's interesting because it used to be that all business connections were made in person. And then the online world started happening and all connections were made online. But I feel like we're moving more back towards in person.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen, like, my word. I always pick a word, like, for every year. And this year my word was connection. And so it was, like, really important for me to be very intentional about connection. And if opportunities in person came up, I was going to take them, or if, even like a connection online, if something came up, like, I was going to be connected, right? Not just connected to new people, but also like more connected to my current relationships and connected to my clients, and like really even like connected to my email list, people that are subscribed to my email newsletter. Like I really wanted to feel connected to them at a deeper level. And I do see a lot more of a shift of people going to more of these events, people hosting more of these live events. And I think it's great. I think it's awesome. And I think it's really important to, if you can, make it a priority to go to one, at least one.
Yeah, I totally agree. So a lot of people listening to this podcast are getting started out. They're in different Facebook groups. They're starting their site and their blog, but are feeling, when you go into these Facebook groups, you see all these other people and it can feel very intimidating, and maybe you haven't even found your niche yet. So I would love to hear from you what the number one piece of encouragement you would give to a ladypreneur right now who's feeling invisible.
So if you're feeling invisible, I would say, and this might not be what you want to hear, which is typical of me, I will pretty much be direct with you. I'll give it to you. If you're feeling invisible, it might be because you're boring, right? Like it might be because you are filtering what you want to be saying, right? Like you're just vanilla and you're blending in. And I think that if everyone likes your message, like if you go to a group of 10 people that are sitting in a room and they all think like, yeah, that's a really great, that's an awesome message, that's great, then you're doing it wrong, right? Like you don't want everyone to agree or like your message, because then it's not strong enough, it's not bold enough, it doesn't stand out enough, it's just kind of blending in, right? So you're potentially just regurgitating what other people are teaching or sharing, and you're not doing it in your own voice or with your own higher level thinking, right? So I really do think that you might be being boring if you feel invisible. You might not be being consistent enough. I see that a lot. I see people who are like, I've been doing this for 2 weeks. And I'm like, that is great, right? But that is not enough time for people to get to know you, like you, trust you. Are there people that, probably are starting to notice you now? Yes, but it's not the time to stop, right? It's the time to keep going. It's the time to get bolder with that messaging and really use that unfiltered message that you want to say. So it's kind of like, what would you say if you weren't afraid of what people were going to think of you? And I do this all the time, and it's still scary for me. It's still scary sometimes because we all, as humans, want to be liked. It's our human nature as like pack animals. We don't want to be like kicked out of the tribe. But if you really want to have a standout message, then you need to stand out. And so I think if you're feeling like invisible or not seen, it's because either one, you're being boring, and I need you to start unfiltering that message and really say what you want to say. And number two, you haven't been consistent enough. So just keep at it, right? Don't give up, because if you truly believe that you have a mission that you need to share with the world, then you don't quit after 2 weeks. You actually, like, this is something that you keep going until it works. Like that's the mentality that you have to have. It's not like, oh, I'll do this for 3 weeks, and if it doesn't work, I'm going back to my day job. Like, no, then your mission isn't that strong, right? Like you have to be so convicted about that mission that there is no other answer. Like this is it, and you're committed to it. So those would be the two things I would say.
I think that that's so right on, and we tend to all try something for a couple weeks and get discouraged. So it's a great reminder to keep pushing ahead, keep doing what you feel led to do in your business, because no one else is going to help you do that.
Yeah, so true.
Let's transition for all of us who are now obsessed with you and want to stalk you. What gift are you giving everyone today so they can find you?
Yeah, well, I love it when people stalk me, so there's definitely places to do that, and I'm so appreciative of Michelle, you having me, and everyone listening. My whole thing behind my business, like my whole motto and what I took from my corporate career was I know how to get results for people in less time. I'm all about removing the waste from your business so that you can get better results faster. So I have a 5-day challenge. It's a free challenge, and it's called How to Build Your Business in 20 Minutes a Day. Don't get too stuck on is this really going to help me build my business in 20 minutes a day? Potentially, because this was something I did while I was still working in my corporate job and growing my business, right? But it's more about the concepts behind it. So if anyone's interested in building their business in less time and getting better results, you can go to adriennedorison.com/20 minutes, and that'll sign you up for the free challenge.
Awesome. And I will put that below. I'll also put all of her links so you can follow her on social media, but I highly, highly, highly recommend you downloading this freebie, because when you're first starting out, you need these structures from people who have been there and done that so that you can do these things in less time and get traction quicker. So that is so exciting. Thank you so much for that, Adrienne. And thank you so much for volunteering your time to come here and talk to us. I know that we kind of bunny trailed talking about giving, but I think that was such a powerful message that people needed to hear today.
Oh, absolutely. Michelle, thanks for having me, and I hope that this was helpful.
Absolutely. So guys, give her a follow, and we will be seeing you next week.
Thanks for listening in today to the Visibility Vixen podcast. Subscribe now and share with a fellow Vixen who wants to start building their visibility. For more fire in your life and brand, visit visibilityvixen.com.